What is up? Welcome to the No Pun Intended Look Inside series, folks. We are one quarter away from being done, 3/4 of the way done with the entire NFL team previews. We are at episode 25, and today we are looking at the Minnesota Vikings. When you think Minnesota Vikings, you know Justin Jefferson is going to get his. The question is, with a brand new quarterback, can the rest of the team still be as fantasy friendly as they have been for years? You're about to find out if we think so. Let's get into it. Welcome to No Pun Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. It is our Look Inside series. Joe Zolo was not able to make the recording of this episode. However, Josh Hudson is here with me. He's going to do all the heavy lifting as we break down that team up north, Skull, as they say, the Minnesota Vikings. Josh.
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting for essentially the second straight season. They've got a brand new quarterback and one that has never started an NFL game.
Yeah, it's funny that...
And the offensive weapons all have pretty high ADPs, so people are really expecting him to not do...
no steps
what
back.
Everybody thinks. Yeah, no steps back at all. So
I have thoughts, which we will get into. But it is interesting, Josh, because they were so consistent for so many years. Like Kirk Cousins was Kirk Cousins. You knew if it was a 1:00 game, he was balling. You knew if it was a primetime game, he wasn't. And then we get Sam Darnold, who certainly surprised the hell out of fantasy. And now we wonder if JJ McCarthy can do the same. We'll get into that in just a moment because, that's the entire premise of the show. If you've not tuned in any of the Look Inside series, we are going to break down some of our favorite or maybe even least favorite plays. This episode is going to cover the Minnesota Vikings. There are 23 other episodes. This is our 24th episode on our site. So if you have not liked and subscribed and done all the things that you're supposed to do to show Club Fantasy your appreciation, please do it now. It's super easy. It's free for you. Gets more eyes on our content. Plus, we go live 3 times a week right now. That's going to go up to like 5 times a week during the NFL season. But right now we have a Wednesday show where we're breaking down ADP and draft strategies and mock drafts and all sorts of fun stuff. But then we do a separate mock draft show every Thursday and another one every Friday, Mock Girl Summer and Mock It Like It's Hot. So there's no reason for you not to subscribe to Club Fantasy. Josh, as we look at the Minnesota Vikings, again, very much like the Green Bay Packers, who we just covered, great season last year, 14-3 for the Vikings. That defense, we don't have Joe on the episode to talk the defense up, but that defense was surprisingly good. So it's no surprise that they're bringing everybody back. Again, this is the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, who happens to be their play caller. As we look at this team, Josh, we're going to break everybody down by ADP, and I will remind folks that right now we use Underdog ADP, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But if you are not playing on Underdog, go ahead and get signed up using promo code WOFF. That's going to get you a free first pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000. Basically, you can put some of your money in there. They do best ball drafts over at Underdog. They do player picks. But as I mentioned, the reason we use these Underdog ADPs, and you should sign up using promo code WOF, is they are the most accurate ADPs as we sit here in July. This is where folks have skin in the game. Even if it's just a $5 draft, you're going to take that a little bit more seriously than some of these mock drafts. And as a mock draft host, I can say this, people get a little wild. We see teams drafting all tight ends just to see what it'll look like. You don't so much have to deal with that when it comes to Underdog drafting. And so when we look at these ADPs, Josh, QB1 is JJ McCarthy, the rookie out of Michigan who missed his entire rookie year. So the second year guy out of Michigan, he is going off the board as the QB16. Aaron Jones is back as the starting running back. A lot of people would argue about that. And maybe ADP is starting to shake that way as well. He's going off the board as the RB29. Jordan Mason comes over from San Francisco, where he had a really good year while he was healthy. He is going off as the RB31. If you want to hear more about Jordan Mason, there's going to be an article on our website by Michael Sicoli breaking down the new RB2 in Minnesota. And I don't know what Michael's going to write about quite
running
yet.
Game whole, honestly.
So. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what he's going to write about quite yet. It may be that Jordan Mason is taking over this entire backfield. I remember now that Josh asked me to read this article, and I have not done so because I've been very busy. So I'll take a look at it in just a little bit. Ty Chandler is the RB3. Very big drop. He's going off the boards as the RB95. Wide receiver 1. Justin Jefferson. He may be the wide receiver 1 in all of fantasy football. Right now, he's going off the boards as a wide receiver 2. Jordan Addison, his second second fiddle is going off as wide receiver 36. And then again, very much like the running back, steep drop. Jalen Naylor is the wide receiver 3 in this offense. He's going off the boards as wide receiver 91. Ty Felton is a rookie going off as wide receiver 121. Clearly the rookie fever has not caught up to Ty Felton yet. And Josh, I'll be very interested, and we're actually going to start with him when we get to this. But TJ Hockenson, a lot of people betting on a bounce back, going off the board as the tight end 5. I know you're going to talk about him in a later, but let's start with our thoughts on this entire Minnesota offense. But I feel like this is also just going to lead into what the hell are our thoughts on JJ McCarthy. But let's talk about this offense in general, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought, this offense might be QB proof. I mean, shit, Kevin O'Connell made Sam Darnold into a top.
I have to stop letting you talk first, because this is the point I was going to bring up for JJ McCarthy. But anyway,
I mean, that's really all I'm going to say. But no, I found a couple really interesting notes. So like when you look at the last 3 seasons of this offense, their total plays have actually decreased. They went from 66.06 plays per game in 2022 to 63 to 62 plays per game last year. But what's been interesting is that their rush attempts have gone up. Their yards per play have gone up each of those 3 seasons. So, it's just like they found some level of consistency last year when they brought in Aaron Jones. And now you bring in Jordan Mason to kind of help with that. Because when you look at it, Kirk Cousins didn't need stability. He knew how to throw the football. He knew how to manage games. He could help them win games with his arm. Sam Darnold was a complete unknown last year because, quite frankly, he's been a shitty NFL quarterback. Now you transition away from that to go to a complete unknown at quarterback. So you kind of need a steady presence in the running game as your quarterback finds their legs, right? But when you look at the running game, they only had 9 rushing touchdowns last season. 9.
Yep.
What is that? Now, again, you're by all accounts regressing at the quarterback position. So you add in Jordan Mason. Is that really going to make the running game better? Are they going to score more touchdowns? For all of what Jordan Mason did and everybody hyped him up, he had 3 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
He is a terrible red zone rusher. I only have this team statted out for 10 rushing touchdowns. So unless JJ McCarthy throws for, 30 plus touchdowns, this offense might be coming back down to earth a little bit. So I'm really curious when you go through and you talk about McCarthy, Ryan, like where you're kind of pinpointing this. But by all accounts, like outside of that, like they have big play threats at wide receiver. Jordan over 13 yards per reception. Justin Jefferson is consistently over 15 yards per catch. They're throwing the football down the field. That's what they're doing. And they're letting their guys, their targets, break plays. And that's why I found it really interesting that while their plays per game have gone down, their yards per play has gone up. So I'm curious to see sort of where that will fall in the hierarchy, so to speak, of, bringing in McCarthy, who's unproven. You still have Jefferson and Addison. You get Hockenson now 2 years removed from the knee injury. You bring in a complement to Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones has always been a big play threat with the ball in his hands. And now you have somebody that can take some of that workload away from him to kind of help him be more efficient. This offense might be, a 6 yards per play kind of offense when all is said and done. And that's really impressive considering McCarthy's heading into year 1 as a starter.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk more about Hockenson and McCarthy. So I kind of wanted to focus on the middle pieces and the pieces that are interesting to me, Josh. I actually brought this up on an episode recently. Aaron Jones had some fumbling issues last year. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but from games that I watched, he was putting the ball in the turf. But the fact of the matter is this: they had nobody else to turn to last year, so he got to keep the ball. They clearly have someone else to turn to this season. And so obviously in the red zone, as you brought up, Jordan Mason, not a great red zone runner, but if I remember correctly, and I do, Jones's fumbles were coming in the red zone, and then he was getting a chance to run again and score touchdowns. So
5 fumbles, 3 loss for Jones last year.
Are they going to turn to Jordan Mason, even though it's the red zone? Are they going to let JJ McCarthy handle the offense? I would say if they didn't let Sam Darnold do it, they're not going to let JJ McCarthy do it. There's concerns at the running back. As you move on to the wide receiver, let me be 1,000% clear. There are no concerns about Justin Jefferson. He's done it with Josh Dobbs. He did it with Kirk Cousins, obviously. He did it with Sam Darnold, and we all have our thoughts on
Done
Sam
it with
Darnold.
Nick Mullins.
Did it with Nick Mullins at quarterback. I don't care who JJ McCarthy is. Justin Jefferson is going to be fine. Is he going to be the overall wide receiver one? I don't know, but he's probably going to be a top 5 wide receiver. And at his draft cost, the top 5 wide receivers are so tightly grouped. He's fine at his draft cost. The top 5 wide receivers all cost a first round pick. So I don't care if Justin Jefferson doesn't live up to wide receiver 2. He's not a bust. The rest of the team, Josh, is where this plays out. I have concerns with TJ Hockenson. I'm going to save it for when you talk about Hockenson. Jordan Addison is now facing off the field issues that you don't know how that's going to translate to on the field. You have a quarterback that didn't throw the ball a ton in college. And you pointed out, Josh, their rushing attempts went up. Their passing attempts went down from 2023 to 2024. Are they going to try to lean more on the rushing game? They certainly, in theory, have a better rushing game than they did last year. If the targets go down, there's one person on this team who's target proof. That's Justin Jefferson. So Jordan Addison, possibly TJ Hockenson, end up in strange spots. And that's kind of my takeaway with this offense, Josh, is when you have offenses that are such big question marks, I tend to not be jumping to draft them. However, I will say Aaron Jones has been one of my most drafted best ball players simply because at RB29 right now, Josh, he stats out as my RB19. So I'm still leaning on Aaron Jones just because I don't necessarily have the belief in Jordan Mason that everybody else in the world does. So I like the offense. I'm just mildly worried about it.
Yeah, Aaron Jones comes in as my RB24. Jordan Mason's only my RB55, but I don't have him catching a ton of passes.
That's you and I did the same thing then.
Yeah, the bulk of the passing work for the running back position is all going to Aaron Jones. So
because that's what he does.
Mason to me at RB31 is just
an overdraft. Yep.
It's way over. To me, he needs to have 150 plus rushing attempts and 6 or more touchdowns to pay off of that ADP.
I think the world has forgotten how good Aaron Jones is, and they just want to anoint Jordan Mason. And I mean, Aaron Jones, I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but
Aaron Jones is going to be 31 this year.
And that's why,
and that's a big part of it. But he also just signed a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
So he's not going anywhere. Let's just be frank. Let's call a spade a spade. 5 rushing touchdowns, not great last year, but he also handled, I think it was close to 250 carries. That is very outside of a Aaron Jones typical season. He's usually, high 180s, 190s, low 200s, but 250. I think that was a career high in carries for him last year.
Yeah.
But
and that's where Jordan Mason's going to come into play.
And that's where Jordan Mason comes in, right? I don't have it in front of me right now, but
I have Jones. I have Jones at 209 carries this year. So.
Okay. Well, but when you take into account what the RB2 and RB3 in this offense did last year from a carries perspective, that was 120 carries. So you figure that right there is going to be Jordan Mason's floor.
Yep.
I have him at 121 carries.
I have him at 122.
So, but also, I took a lot of carries. I took over 50 carries away from Aaron Jones from last year. And let's not forget that JJ McCarthy is going to run the football as well. Sam Darnold had 67 rush attempts last year. I don't have JJ McCarthy quite that high because I'm not 100% sure how he's going to bounce back from a meniscus injury, which sometimes tends to be a little trickier than an ACL.
Yeah.
So, again, you might be looking at more carries going to JJ McCarthy as well. So now you're talking Aaron Jones coming down to that 180 range, right? There's a lot of wiggle room here for, where Jones could ultimately finish, where Mason could ultimately finish. I think Aaron Jones's RB29 is fine because, again, I don't have this team scoring a ton of rushing touchdowns. I only have them at 10. So I basically split right down the middle. I have Jones at 3, Mason at 3, and then I kind of sprinkled everybody else around. If these guys aren't scoring touchdowns, their ADP is just fine, in my opinion.
And they're certainly not as interesting as we thought they were. Josh, I was going to let you kick this thing off with TJ Hockenson, but if someone's going to talk about the quarterback, I feel like you have to start with that because that's going to kind of lead into everything else. And the statement you made was exactly what I was going to go with. As I'm starting to get the impression that this offense is quarterback proof. And this is a derivative of the Rams offense and all these guys. We've seen these guys go elsewhere and succeed with Baker Mayfield and succeed with Joe Flacco coming out of retirement. Oh, never mind. That's the Minnesota Vikings. I'm making the wrong connection there. But regardless, we've seen this derivative of the Rams offense succeed with any quarterback. And when I look at JJ McCarthy, I'm statting him out very boring, Josh. Just over 500 attempts. I do have him finishing at just under 4,000 yards, only 25 touchdowns. I have him at 49 rushing attempts, but I don't have his yards per carry too high because of the meniscus injury. So he comes in as my QB 19. His ADP is my QB 16. When I think about JJ McCarthy, there's obviously a lot of upside there, and you point to the upside of what Sam Darnold did last year. And Sam Darnold, I think, was the QB 8 when it was all said and done. 545 attempts, 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns. And that is the question mark, Josh. This is an offense that has shown the capability of throwing 35 touchdown passes. And honestly, the year before that, 30 touchdown passes when they were dealing with massive amounts of injuries at the quarterback position. I only have them at 27, Josh. So I'm wondering if I'm underdoing it, but I've told this story on this show before. It might have actually been about this team. How we do our projections is we give touchdowns to the wide receivers, and obviously those funnel up to the quarterback. When I look at this team, Josh, there's nobody I want to give more touchdowns to. Maybe I have Justin Jefferson at 9. Maybe I give him that 10th. But then I have Jordan Addison at 7, and with his boneheadedness, maybe I need to take him down. I have Jalen Naylor at 2 as the wide receiver 3. I have no idea what's going on there. I'm lower than most on TJ Hockenson. I'm going to save that for your segment. But when I look at it, I'm like, I don't know who else I want to give these touchdowns to. So I have McCarthy with 2, and then I have Sam Howell playing 1 game, and I have McCarthy with 25. I have Sam Howell playing 1 game and getting 2 of those touchdowns because I don't like to project 17 games out of quarterbacks. We've learned our lesson about that. I say all of that to say, Josh, is we just did the episode on the Green Bay Packers where I said Jordan Love is the reason you wait on quarterback. Jordan Love is going 2 picks after JJ McCarthy, and to me that makes absolutely no sense. We know nothing about JJ McCarthy except that he is throwing to Justin Jefferson. So while I love JJ McCarthy as a flyer in a 2 QB league at 2 spots ahead of Jordan Love, JJ McCarthy will be on none of my single QB teams, Josh.
Yeah, McCarthy's also going ahead of Justin Herbert,
yeah,
who also finished as a top 10 quarterback last year. So, like, and that's the point. Like, this is where I'm at with JJ McCarthy. I'm excited for him in this offense because we've seen what this offense can produce. But when you're trying to convince me to take him over guys that we've already seen quality fantasy production from that also have pretty solid weapons, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Unless you honest to God think that JJ McCarthy is going to come in and rush for over 400 yards and he provides, Daniel Jones level floor of rushing, but with a Sam Darnold type passing upside in this Minnesota offense, then, like that I can see and it makes sense from that perspective. But again, he's never played a fucking down. Like, you can't sit here and tell me this is what he's going to be when we've literally never seen it. So, yes, the weapons make life easier for him, but weapons don't help you see a defense. They don't help you progress through your reads. And that is what we need to see from McCarthy to make sure that he can pay off at this level of ADP right now. Like, so, I'm with you, Ryan. He stats out as my QB 21. I have him little over 4,000 yards. I only have him at 24 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I'll get to a very interesting bet that I found with Justin Jefferson in a little bit, but 40% of his seasons, he's only hit 10 double-digit touchdowns, and that double-digit was literally 10. Yeah. Every year, he's under 10 touchdowns. So, like, why would I go through and put him at 10 or more touchdowns?
Yeah, you're
Jordan Addison has scored 10 and 9 touchdowns. Why would I put him at, 3? I'm going to put him right around that 7-8 mark, right? Like, TJ Hockenson has never scored more than 6 touchdowns. So why would I say, oh, he's going to be a 6, 7, 8, 9 touchdown guy? That's not going to be the case. But this offense is going to be funneled through those 3 guys and Aaron Jones. So, that's where I'm looking at not only the receiving production, but also the touchdown production. Yeah. And that's going to reflect what McCarthy's ceiling ultimately can be, because a young quarterback is not going to spread the football around the same way that a veteran quarterback is going to.
They lock on to their favorite targets, and you kind of hit it on the head. And this is what I kind of was trying to allude to in the overall section. Is it worries me for Jordan Addison because it's likely he's going to lock on to one running back, Aaron Jones, one wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, and one tight end, TJ Hockenson. I don't know that he's going to have as many eyes for Jordan Addison as that the world would hope. And I want to wrap this thing up with JJ McCarthy by pointing out his college rushing numbers. They're not great. And college is weird because they count sacks as rushes. So I'm not going to lean heavily into the attempts, but it says he has 161 attempts. I'm not going to do the math on how many times he was sacked, and that's where any of this came from. The yardage was about 4 yards per carry his entire career, but this is where you can find out he's not a great rusher, Josh. In his 3 years as a starter, 10 rushing touchdowns, basically about 3 per year, which is like, oh, in the NFL, that's great. The NFL isn't college. A good rushing quarterback is going to do a lot better than that in college. They're not going to get better all of a sudden when they come to the NFL. So,
he averaged 6 yards per rush over his college career. So, like,
okay, where are you getting your stats then? Because I got 3.9, but I think it's because they're counting the sacks.
Could be. I'm getting them off of PFF.
Okay, because I'm getting it from Pro Sports Reference. So okay. I think that's where, okay, that's good to know. So maybe there's more there than I need to look into. The touchdowns worry me, though, because he only averaged 3 per year. And again, you would score more in college than you would in the pros, especially at a program like Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, and Michigan used him on a lot of designed runs, too. Like, when you look at just 2023, that was the year that Michigan won the championship. 57 attempts, only 18 of those were scrambles. So, yeah. And that was the year he rushed for 340 yards.
Shout out to PFF for having some great stats.
Yeah. 2022, 67 rush attempts, only 24 were scrambles. And he had 402 yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. So, this is a part of his game. It's not. And I think that's probably
then the meniscus, though.
Then the meniscus happens. Exactly. So, to me, it feels like that's where a lot of the inflated ADP is, because the same thing is happening to Drake May. And we talked about early in the summer, we like Drake May because of that rushing upside. And we saw it last year. He led all quarterbacks in yards per rush attempt. But now the ADP is getting to a point where it's a little it's the same thing with Justin Fields too. Everybody's putting him at QB 10 because, he's been a top 12 quarterback before. He was the QB 6 in 6 starts last year with the Steelers. We know what he can do from a rushing perspective. The problem is he still sucks as a passer. And the only time that he was that QB 6 was when he had 1,100 rushing yards. He's not getting 1,100 rushing yards this year, guys. He has Breece Hall behind him, plain and simple. So, you're overinflating the rushing aspects. The same thing is happening with Drake May. Now the same thing is happening with JJ McCarthy. The difference is McCarthy is coming off of a knee injury, people. Yeah. He may not be that type of rushing quarterback that you want him to be. I'm fine with Drake May being that. I'm fine with you overinflating Justin Fields. It just means that I'm not going to have as much Justin Fields. I'm not going to have near as much as Drake May as I want now, whereas I did early in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of coming off of knee injuries, Josh, the world has seemed to have forgiven TJ Hockenson for last year to a degree that I find almost unfathomable, that he is now going off boards as tight end 5. Are you defending or are you disparaging, Josh?
So I won't even bury the lead. He's my tight end 10. So no, I'm not buying him at tight end 5 prices. But here's the thing. I understand the ranking just from a historical TJ Hockenson perspective. When you look at his career averages, he averages 6.85 targets per game. He averages 4.66 receptions per game. You stat that out over a full season, that's 79 receptions. His career 10.5 yards per reception, that's 79 receptions, 832 receiving yards. Just that floor alone is 162 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Without touchdowns, that's the tight end 11. Guess what? TJ Hockenson didn't score a single touchdown last year.
Yeah, exactly.
So that right there, tight end 11, he's being overdrafted at the tight end 5. Now let's throw him 4 touchdowns, because as I mentioned earlier, that's right around what he scores in a given year, because he's never scored more than 6. It's been 2, it's been 3, it's been 4, it's been 6. Those are the touchdowns that he scores year in and year out. So add on 4 touchdowns to that number. That puts him at 186.1 fantasy points. You put that to last year, that's tight end 7. He's still being overdrafted, people.
On the best case scenario.
That is a best case scenario. Like, he played 10 games last year coming off the knee injury. 6.2 targets per game in that scenario. That's great. That's awesome. But he scored 0 touchdowns when the team scored 35 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
He was not a focal point of Sam Darnold's offense. A young quarterback, we talk about this all the time, very likely to own in on a tight end in the middle of the field.
Absolutely.
This is the difference with TJ Hockenson versus other tight ends. Hockenson scores fantasy points because he is a volume tight end. He needs over 100 targets. He needs 70 plus receptions. He needs 700 or more receiving yards to score this type of production because he's not scoring touchdowns. He's never scored more than 6 touchdowns in a season, and this is his age 28 season. Don't expect him to be something he's not this far into his career. So if you're telling me he's going to be the tight end 5, guess how many fantasy points the tight end 5 scored last year, Ryan?
Based on the stats you're giving, 211.
195.4 fantasy points.
Okay.
So basically, he needs to score damn near 200
touchdowns.
fantasy points.
Yeah.
So what is that going to equal to if he's only scoring 4 touchdowns per season?
I was going to say he has to find the end zone 6 times to even remotely. You're betting on 6 touchdowns for him to pay
And
off.
even if he scores 4 touchdowns, he needs to be a 90 reception, 900-yard guy.
And an offense with Justin Jefferson.
That's just not going to happen. So again, like I talked about this a little bit earlier in the beginning part of the show. When you look at the weapons and where they're being drafted, you would think JJ McCarthy is going to be a top 7 quarterback. I'm not saying it can't happen because let's be real, Sam Darnold just fucking did it.
Exactly.
But the likelihood of that happening, it's not in the cards. That's a bad bet. So tight end 5 for TJ Hockenson, it's a bad bet. I'm sorry.
This is a great point that actually got brought up in a text message chain with me, Josh, and our good friend Jay yesterday. Gator Jay, who writes for Club Fantasy. And Josh, you pointed out that I don't know if you remember who sent the tweet, but someone sent the tweet that playing in 1,000 leagues makes you give different fantasy advice than someone who plays in 1 or maybe even 2 leagues. And that is, you can't always be willing to take. When I do 100 best ball drafts this summer, Josh, I can take a risk on JJ McCarthy. I can take a risk on TJ Hockenson. In my home league draft, I can't take a risk on these guys because they're not worth the risk. The upside doesn't cover the downside.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with TJ Hockenson as, a tight end 8 through 12.
Yeah.
100% fine with that because
100%.
At the end of the day, that's basically what you're going to get. You're going to get 8 fantasy points per game because he has a career 10.5 yards per reception. He is not a downfield threat. He's not a big yards after catch guy. He's a very low ADOT, high reception. He's a volume tight end. That's what he is. He's a volume tight end that doesn't put up high touchdown numbers. Plain and simple. That's not tight end 5 in fantasy football. I'm sorry.
I think that's the perfect way to wrap up the TJ Hockenson section. Josh, we're not going to spend a ton of time on training camp battle to watch. You have it listed as the RB1, Aaron Jones versus Jordan Mason. I don't have anything to add because it's kind of what I talked about when we did the section. Do you have anything to add here? Obviously, the article on our website is going to be very much about this battle as well.
Yeah, so Coley's going to touch on this a lot, but I found it really interesting just because of where they're going at ADP. We've seen this with Aaron Jones before. He's been a guy that has overcome split backfields. We saw it with Jamal Williams over the years. He's never been, a 250, rush attempt kind of guy until last year when he had to be because Cam Akers kind of sucks. Ty Chandler, he's not an RB2. These are, he's being paired with guys that can't handle 130, 140, 150 type rush attempt seasons. We saw from Jordan Mason last year that he can. And he averaged over 5 yards per carry doing it. That's a good thing because he needs that. to be more efficient, to play the type of Aaron Jones type game and provide that kind of season that we want. But again, this is not a high rushing touchdown type of offense. So with these two guys, one of them needs to take the bulk of the rushing touchdowns to pay off at where they're going at ADP, because right now, I don't think Jordan Mason hits ADP, but I'm also a big Aaron Jones guy. I think that he ultimately leads its backfield. But you're talking about an age 31 running back.
Yeah.
It's not out of the realm of possibility that Aaron Jones only plays 10 games this year, and we get more Jordan Mason, which means he will pay off on that RB31 price tag. So, like, I don't hate their
we
current
literally
ADPs.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't hate their current ADPs. Like, one might feel really low, one might feel really high, but it's baking in the competition. It's baking in the injury risk. Like, one of them is not going to pay off at ADP. That's ultimately what I can tell you. Yeah. I think it's going to be Jordan Mason that doesn't, because again, I am an Aaron Jones guy. I've seen a lot more of Aaron Jones. I like his play style a lot more, and it fits what this offense wants to do. Jordan Mason is just a boring hammer, quote unquote, for this offense, but I don't even think he's going to be used so much as a hammer, so much as just a rotational piece that gets some hammer work, and maybe we'll break off a 10, 15-yard run here and there, but he doesn't have a nose for the end zone. So I just don't see it happening.
We're going to wrap this episode up with our best bets for the Minnesota Vikings. And I will remind you that if you want to place some wagers on the Minnesota Vikings or do some best ball drafts, head on over to Underdog. Use promo code WOFF, WOFF. You will get a free bet and a deposit match, possibly up to $1,000. So take a look for that. Promo code WOFF over at Underdog. Josh, you have a bunch for this team, so I'm just going to quickly knock mine out of the park. And that is Justin Jefferson over 1,500 receiving yards at plus 350. I was looking for a little bit better of a plus money bet. I have Jefferson projected over 1,500. He went over 1,500 last year with the quarterback issues. He has actually gone over 1,500 in 3 of his 5 full seasons, or 3 of his 5 seasons. One of those seasons was only a 10-game season where he already had 1,000 yards. He was averaging 100 yards a game that season. Justin Jefferson feels like a really good bet for 1,500 yards, and you can almost quadruple your money on this one, plus 350. Josh, you might, if I'm remembering correctly, have the only official unders of this entire series now, 24 episodes in. I did miss a few episodes, so it might not have been the first one.
I mean, I'm not afraid to put a bet down on an under, one that I think might not hit. Now, I'll preface my JJ McCarthy under 36.50.5. It's only plus 100. Like, it's not great money by any means.
Double your money.
There's very few bets here that are, like you're going to get plus money on. So just trying to pick and choose my battles here. But again, you're betting on a first-time starting quarterback to throw for basically 3,700 or more yards. Now,
exactly.
I will preface my projections. I do have him over 4,000, so I'm not saying it's not out of the realm of possibility, right? But, and I know you said the same thing. So but again, it just boils down to, this offense, they have big-time playmakers. So yes, this number is very easy to hit, but he's still a first-time starting quarterback.
Coming off of a knee injury. Where you need to plant your leg to throw. Yeah. So, this is a it's not out of the realm of possibility this can hit. That's kind of what I'm getting at. With Jordan Addison going over 750.5, are we not paying attention? He's cleared this every year in his career. The only way he does it is if he misses 6 games, which, again, maybe a suspension happens, but most people that have some knowledge of these types of things say that he might only miss 3. He can clear 750 yards in 14 games, right? Also, late into the process, it almost feels like the suspension would get pushed till next year anyway. So
could potentially be, yeah. But the one that I really want to talk about, Justin Jefferson, the line is 9.5 touchdowns. Okay. He has gone under this in 60% of his career. And the over would start at 10. And that's where he's hit on the nose. He's never scored 11, 12, 13, 14. He's never hit Jamar Chase level touchdowns before. So you're basically saying that he's going to set a career high or tie a career high in touchdowns with a first-time starter at quarterback on this betting line. Now, granted, it's only minus 100. So it's basically a pick 'em at this point, right?
I'd say it's double your money. Minus 100 and plus 100 are the same bet.
Yeah.
So
Like it's basically the same bet, but like this is the type of wager that I would make to build a parlay around that ultimately gets you plus money. That's what I would be looking at with this bet, because the same way that Ryan's plus 350 on 1,500 yards, he's hit that 60% of his career. He's hit the under 60% of his career here.
exactly. Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
This is a trap bet. The over is like, I just don't, I don't get it, but whatever.
Yeah. They're banking on everybody's love of JJ McCarthy, plain and simple.
Or no, they're banking on you love Justin Jefferson.
Well, yeah.
So it doesn't matter who the fucking quarterback is.
Or the overhype of JJ McCarthy, if you will. Then, guys, that is going to wrap up our Minnesota Vikings episode. This was the 24th episode of this series. So we have 8 teams left to finish. We are bringing these episodes out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on our YouTube page. They are all pre-recorded, but if you disagree, agree, you can drop comments. We'll do a very good job of responding to you guys. But again, we also go live every single Wednesday. It's me, Josh, and our friend Joe. We talk a lot of different things every single Wednesday. If you guys want to tune in, we never let a comment go ignored on those shows every Wednesday night live, no pun intended. And to go with this Look Inside series, there's also an article dropping for each one of these teams, focusing on a player with player blurbs for all of the Minnesota Vikings. That's available on clubfantasyffl.com. Next episode is going to be the Houston Texans. Again, we're in the playoff teams now. These are fun offenses to project. You get to find out whether we like them, whether we hate them, whether we are somewhere in between. That is going to wrap up the Minnesota Vikings. We will see you on the Houston Texans next. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football, and we will see you on the next Look Inside.